Please do.
To sign.
Yes, it's Judy. I think it was the last we did that. Thank you for live.
Okay, well, let's start.
Let's go back.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think we all have had a copy of the minutes to look over. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, that motion will carry. We're really just looking at two orders of business today. One is the old business, and as we continue to move forward on the comprehensive plan. Nate, thanks for getting all that together. It really is helpful to have it in the Excel sheet to be able to see that. That's helpful for me. I'm visual like that, so I think that we were all given a copy of that last time and emailed the updated version of that. Are you going to be able to put that on the screen like you did last time?
I think I should be able to.
And we can start on that. I think last time we did infrastructure and parks and what else did we get done? I think we only have 2 or 3 left to sort in those.
We did public safety, economic and parks.
Yeah.
We did 4.
So we need to do community development and services and then administration.
Code enforcement.
Okay. Yeah, we did parks, public safety, infrastructure, and economic development. So we need to do code enforcement, administration, community development, and then services. It's very short. So the purpose is just to kind of organize all of this where we can
What topics do we need to do next?
all right, we need to do code enforcement. You want to start with that one?
Sorry, I'm trying to get my bearings here again. I forgot. I haven't looked at it since I did it last time, honestly. Slack.
Yeah, we appreciate your honesty.
What did we do? How do we manage that? We took.
We were taking the list from each individual thing. And then we were trying to,
Categorize it even further.
we were trying to basically narrow it down to common themes. Like for the parks, the common themes were, staff, cemeteries, riverbank.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you see there. So as you look through there, if you start to see common themes of what the public thought that we needed to address there. Make sure.
All right, so we need some categories. Is that what we think?
Yes, so. All right, I'm back. So we're looking at, what do we say?
Code enforcement, right?
Code enforcement. Okay, thank you. All right, so as you look at code enforcement, we're looking for common themes to kind of funnel those down into, 3 to 4 big rock items that should be addressed in that area.
Looks like homes, dilapidated houses, and buildings. Much problem.
Dilapidated structures, will say.
Yeah,
I put enforcement, I'm gonna drag this guy, right?
Yeah.
there you go. So that'd be stricter,
Restricted.
restricted. Conference.
That's probably that guy in the conference room.
You need a dollar here to do this.
I'm not overly intellectual, so I wasn't sure if there was a word I wasn't.
That's not.
I'll go dictionary.
Oh, yeah. Steph, we just need to get stricted around. Yeah, all right, so dilapidated, additional inspection, that would be, enforcement. Really the same thing there.
This was somebody
What is-
complaining about, remember when, county commissioners, county support system, wherever they bought a residential structure across from. Kind of catty corner from the judicial annex in a residential neighborhood, and so they were having people come in there for like. Day report people essentially, and. There was a quiet firestorm because people didn't like those types for coming into their neighborhood. And it was business and all such stuff, but we looked at the zoning, government uses were pretty much exempted from, from the zoning rules. Rightly or wrongly, that's what.
Gotcha.
So we didn't have anything to really push back on there.
Okay,
Yeah,
So that's probably more of a, we'll just put it under zoning, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
That category.
so it was a residential zoning area, but government was exempted.
Yeah, on our current law. Noise issues enforcement, maybe?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's dilapidated structures, property improvement, I would think that would dilapidated structures as well. Mowing, enforcement,
Noise at large.
hooping, yards, well,
I'm just quoting what they said.
Yeah, and you can go through here like vehicles that aren't licensed have been sitting in the same place for like 12 years.
yeah.
I'm sticking
Yeah,
this one
that's,
here.
I would think so. Enforcement.
You know,
Houses.
where do you put noise?
I put it in enforcement, but
Yeah, rock and roll.
okay.
Vulgar music.
Yeah. Unlicensed vehicles.
That would be enforcement as well.
Uh-huh.
Too close to the road.
I have no idea.
Across from them. That's kind of an isolated,
Let's stick it over here for now.
yeah.
Okay, cats.
One word for you.
Yeah.
Cats.
Take that out. I like my cat. Put deer instead.
Yeah,
They've destroyed my property.
it was maybe a week before deer season. We had a deer jump across, I was here working late one night, it was 10:30. A deer jumped over the fence at the state hospital and a car hit right in the middle of Weston.
Oh, wow.
Big old deer.
Escape patient.
So how did it taste?
You know, they got out, I heard a hit and I was like, what was that? A grade 4 blow up or something, so I got up when I was working on some stuff, so about 20 minutes later. I saw the deer in the glass, somebody called and said there was glass in the road, so we called Department of Highways and stuff. And yeah, they just drove the deer over on the sidewalk, and by the time one came, it was already gone, somebody could come and fix it up.
Wow.
And it could have been, if the DOH came for the glass, they may.
They just grabbed it.
Quickly jump on the
Condemned
cat.
tear down houses would be under dilapidated.
Cats aren't quick.
Yeah.
It's not quick.
Okay, I live in the city and I can catch them and cart them off, right?
Yeah, you're lucky. But not anyone's property. That's what we've determined.
And bring it to me.
And our animal control officer, she will work with you, like if you trap it or she wanna try to put it to your house, she'll work with you to help do that, and when it's caught, she will take it for you.
Oh, really? Who's that?
I'm Mariah Goldsmith. You can call her, leave a message with her and she'll help you out with that.
Because I have to cart them off myself, but I have a good system.
Well, as long as you use a black plastic bag, and throw it in the river. nobody's gonna ask any questions.
Go about that.
Then you would be under pollution, water. No,
Here's your name.
I'm finished.
and where do I find her?
Judy's like, The next month's meeting minutes, Nate suggested that.
She's a city official.
Doing a good job.
Okay,
Okay. Just as long as I.
area junkyard, that would be dilapidated
I'm
maybe?
gonna stick it
or
in zoning.
zoning? Okay,
Yeah.
Assistant.
Okay.
You guys are okay with that? And my feeling that that's probably more, we've got some
Well, other.
makeshift
other
junkyard in
things
people's
there,
backyard.
Cats,
Thirty-three
finding them homes and.
out there in Weston.
Okay, because, I mean.
which is not in a.
At one point in time, it was like
Right,
27.
yeah, I mean, the road is zoned,
Yeah,
but,
one
Your,
house.
the 2023 stats for the.
not demolishing.
I mean, I won't hurt them,
Still go under
but what
dilapidated
happens when I'm
buildings,
skunk?
I would think.
Because I've gotten this skunk twice,
Secret.
and I've been lucky
Update
twice.
buildings,
The
which
third time I'm
that's
gonna be
something
coming
that
in here.
we've seen.
Yeah.
We had the facade.
Yeah.
Grant available. Restore over buildings.
Has there been any improvements on the ordinances for buildings? Is it still the same it's been for the last 4 or 5 years?
When you say ordinance of buildings, what are you kind of referring to?
Well, there is only certain things you can do because of the state. But hasn't the state changed the law a little bit on dilapidated buildings?
Well, we adopted the state building code at some point, which spells out kind of a process to be able to deal with dilapidated buildings. And so essentially, paraphrasing the process, we go out and the building inspector makes a call. He inspects it and says, yeah, this building's needs repaired or fixed, and you place an order on the building and you send it to them by certified letter or some kind of official means to let them know that they've got a certain time frame. And usually it's 30 days to get back in touch with the building official and say, yes, I'm gonna fix it by such and such date, or I'm not gonna do anything. And then if they're not responsive, then after that 30 days, that's their appeal period essentially. They can appeal that decision to the board or the code appeals board. They don't appeal, then we can take any official action we want. And that's typical. We do it for 30 days and then we'll put up a bid, demolish it. Work towards that.
So the city would take responsibility for the ownership of that property?
No, not, that process doesn't grant you ownership. And so what is
It doesn't just grant you the ability to tear it down.
remedy the nuisance essentially?
Okay, the cost of tearing it down, where does that?
What we end up
Stand down.
doing is we send them a bill with the cost of tearing it down, which includes the whatever fees associated. So sometimes there's asbestos studies and the tear down costs and the tipping fees to the done. We send them a bill for that, and 95% of the time they don't pay that bill, and we send them a couple copies of the bill by state law, and then we put a lien on the property. And so they can't sell that lot at
But the only thing you can do is put a lien on the property.
this point, yeah, I think. Now we're, 3 years ago when I got here, I said, let's put the liens on the property and then we'll figure it out as we go. But I think we have the ability, don't quote me on it yet, but we're getting closer there, where we can foreclose on the property essentially when a lien has been out there matured after so much time.
Yeah, there should be a time limit on that. Those liens, I
I think
mean,
it's roughly 2 years, we've kind of discovered, so.
So it's on the debt that they owe. They're not having to
Yeah.
pay.
And so we have, we've got 25 more buildings that could tear down. We're starting to say, do we want to foreclose on some of these properties? It's taken. Then the question, the city has not, I would say the city administration and the city council has not decided or figured out how they want to handle these properties long term, like. So what we have kind of had a tactical agreement with folks is that we're gonna put a lien on the property unless you're willing to sign that property over to the city. And that decision was made essentially because we felt over the years, we've been derelict from the city standpoint in enforcing the codes to make sure people have kept their properties. And so we were kind of party to some of that stuff. And so we are kind of giving people get out of jail free card essentially to say, we'll wipe out your debt to clean that house up if you'll sign the property over to us. And so right now, I think I've got an outstanding list of 10 properties that people want to sign over to us.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'm a little, some of them I say, depending on how you kind of have to use your best judgment. If you've got a critical person that once in a while they pop up out of the jungle and you get to talk to them, then you say, let's get that person when they're here to sign this thing over to us and be done with it. And other ones will sit there and say, this is a state, it's not going to go anywhere. Because once we take ownership, then it's our problem essentially, right? So we don't really want to take the property until we've got it down and it's cleaned up.
Plus, I mean, at that point, the city would be responsible for keeping the grass mowed.
And we are, some of these ones we've taken over, we're mowing those, so.
But, if the city can go ahead, if they do have ownership, they should be able to sell it or even give it to somebody
Well,
to get it back on the tax. roll.
That's the debate we've been having, is that as a city, the city of Weston,
Mhm.
the governing body, they're only allowed to dispose of property that's over $1,000 by public auction. So they can't give it to anyone, they've got to sell it by public auction. We felt like a lot of these properties were bought at low cost auctions at the state tax sales, and that's where we end up with this problem. So we kind of want to try to keep those bad actors and people out of that stuff. That's been my hesitation to say, let's just fire it public auction. Now, if we create a land reuse authority under state code, we can have the city of Weston Land Reuse Authority. It's much like the Urban Renewal Authority.
Mhm.
They have the rights to dispose of property in a lot of myriad different ways. And so that's been the debate we've been having, administrative versus council. It's like, we want to have this land reuse authority, so when somebody comes along and says, hey, I want to build a house, we can sign that property over to them and say, yes, please take it, or start advertising them as.
Now, can you put restrictions in the deed on how that property can be handled? Like if it's a real narrow, say it's, you only got a 35-foot front. And the building code says you have to have a 10-foot setback on both sides, you only can build
Mhm.
can you put a building restriction on that deed that says specifies what size home could be built?
Well,
Or if
I don't think it
it
necessarily.
cannot be a home being built.
Well, I think we can dispose of the property any way we want. So I think we can do about anything we want from what I've interpreted it. And then two, I think we don't have to put that kind of restriction on it because our zoning laws that says that.
Okay.
And so when you go into our zoning laws in single family residential, you've got so many feet, you've got setback on each side. Or you've got to go get a variance from the board of the zoning appeals board, for some reason, say, well, there's no way I can make this work, and everybody else in the street has a 5-foot setback, why can't I have it?
Okay, any
Oh, yeah.
chance of, okay, this piece of property right here needs to be done away with. The neighbor is here, and the neighbor says, well, I would just like to have it.
I think that when,
Do they have a,
in the new tax sale law, I'm pretty sure that the adjoining neighbors get the right of first refusal. And so with that, I think it's given kind of indication that land use authorities, and there may even, don't quote me on this either, because I've been a while since I looked at it, but may even be something in the law where we're supposed to approach the neighbors before we dispose of property through that authority to talk to them about the potential of that. So I think that, yes, that's the intention, but if we have an auction through the city of Weston, it's up for grabs. It's not, I think that that's our real intention, is that you create a land use authority, it has 5 board members or whatever, they could be anybody. The only caveat is that one must be a member of the public, so. With our current council, they're really wary from the Western Development Authority days about, getting the wrong actors on there and all kinds of deals being made and stuff like that.
The thing about the property where one on each side, for example, this one's a homeowner on this side. But the one on this side doesn't live in that house.
That's all.
Does he have an equal right to it?
Good question.
Because
And I think-
he's not a homeowner, he wants this one to be a rental. Whereas this one is a homeowner and they both are wanting the same piece of property.
Good question. And I think
Highest bidder.
could be highest bidder, it could be something where the land use authority says, we'll split that property in 2. It could be something where they say, we're gonna decide to give it to this person. That's the beauty, for lack of a better word, of the land use authority, is that this tribunal people will get to kind of decide those things, and that's interesting.
Has that committee ever been formed?
We haven't got the ordinance through yet, so when we presented it to the council, that kind of balls. And made the paper and all that other stuff, and so. You guys think that's a good idea? I suggest you come to the council meeting and say, hey, we need land use.
Well, if you write it down, how I need to speak about it.
You were.
So, I had to pay
You have to word it and make sure everything's spelled correctly.
But you understand the hesitancy from them, like,
Oh, yeah.
we had that development authority and a lot of things happened that were probably not in that, on the open and all this other stuff, but. A land use authority is a public body, it has to have public meetings, has to be open air. And, we feel we can do that. We've been doing that for 3 or 4 years now. We don't see a reason why we couldn't do that now. And council gets to appoint the members. So I said, if it goes bad, you kind of have yourself to blame.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I think it'd be a really useful tool for
I
us.
think it would be too. It'd be great to have that.
I mean, and nobody's done this in West Virginia, to my knowledge, but that land use authority has a myriad of functions that it's been authorized to. So if we wanted to build rental houses on those properties, I think the land use authority could do it. They could build them and rent them, collect the rent if they wanted to.
And be, basically city housing.
Yeah, we've talked about it different times. Some other cities have housing for police officers or teachers or things of that nature. And we sit there and say, well, yeah, maybe we could do something like that, but it's one, finding the people who are willing to invest their time to make a board like that work, and then there's just a lot of work to it, so. That scares, I'll just put words in council's mouth, to me, that scares them when you start proposing those kind of things, because it gets complicated.
Well, you could start it out, and put restrictions on what they could do. What they couldn't.
That's how I felt about it,
Right.
and I told them this, well, we wouldn't have any control on us.
That way they could,
Out of the purse,
you could,
whatever money you give us is what we got.
you could always add things as, start out with pretty restricted. And then add whatever lenience you wanted to as it went on, or what they could do.
Mhm.
I think that would be a great idea.
Well, let's get back on task here.
Okay.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's a great thing. But probably not gonna accomplish that tonight. Let's look at the administration category. I don't think we've done that one yet.
So we're done with that one, right?
Yes, we are. That was a shorter category there.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, that one was kind of straightforward. It's interesting, you got two camps of don't tear stuff down and then tear stuff down. So our plan going forward is to tear things down and to keep things as well. All right, administration, the second line item there, the change charter, so city is responsible for sidewalks. We did have sidewalks on there, what?
We discussed that.
Sidewalk was the very first one under public input.
Infrastructure.
I think,
Yeah, the sidewalk program is under infrastructure, we could probably combine those things.
We'll stick charter modifications, I know there's one down here. Speaks to
we
that.
mentioned sidewalks last year where it would appear that some sidewalks are actually owned by the city and some sidewalks are actually owned by the homeowner. And
Yeah.
I don't know if
Right.
anybody really knows who does what.
Right, we talked about that the
Yeah.
last meeting,
Yeah.
about the need just to have a program to start renewing some of those. All right, so,
I've said needed services, I'm gonna put support police, fire and streets in that needed services.
okay, that's good, yeah.
And that may be right, that may be wrong, we can change it. And then charter modifications, I said change charter. And I don't know if that requires a charter change or not, I'm just putting that in that category at this point. Investment that allows us to plan for future. Here, maybe, for now, that makes sense. I don't know. The tough one.
Does the
Well,
city,
it's-
who do they invest their money with? State board, the state?
Invest our money?
Yeah, do you have any money or do you invest money?
Well, it depends how you ask the question, yes. Yes, well, we have a bank account, a general fund,
Yeah, but I didn't know if you had invested in,
we just put it in CDs.
okay,
This past 2 meetings ago, I think it was, and that was the first time really we'd ever taken the money, and I think historically Weston's had very little money in the general fund to invest. We put, I think.
because I know a lot of government entities in West Virginia have money invested with the state.
No, honestly, I'm not an investment whiz by any
No.
sort of imagination, so the CD thing, I was like, well, we've all seen citizens advertising for 5% CDs, and if we've got $100,000, that's an extra $5,000 at the end of the year that we could have for something, so we were stupid not to do, at least do that.
I'll get that, I'll get you the information, because I know the library, we were told that for years, they had money in CDs, and then they were told, since you're a government entity, you can't actually be doing that. We had to put ours in with the state,
We
and it's actually doing pretty good.
For some reason, we called up to the auditor's office, I think, and it's still about it, but. So I said, I left it to the finance manager to.
I know a lot of board of educations in West Virginia have their money invested with a.
There's a state debt investment fund.
Yeah, that's where,
We ran that question out for you. Cause we were just having a meeting today before you guys got in. Cemetery board has a trust. Just specifically for my children. It has just a little bit under $300,000 in that trust. Last year, our income we generated, I just had a report here, I think it was $23,000. And our mowing is $1,500 every 2 weeks. So it's a struggle, and that's the best return we've had since I've been in the interest rates have gone. Arnold Cemetery doesn't have any funding for it.
No.
There's no trust for that. What else do we have? Oh, we've got 2 pension funds. So, and they're closed pensions, so no longer do we have, new officers don't go into a closed pension. but
Refer to the floor.
We've
You
got
can.
a police. Fire
Try to
pension
do that.
fund. That's,
I just
the
wanted,
police had one
Come on over and
unpaid member still, who's still employed, who pays into the fund. And the fire had 2 or 3 members that pay that pension fund, so those are managed funds that are investments. At this point, they're pretty well funded, like, I think we're in pretty good shape with those two. Wasn't always the case, but. Previous administration did a pretty decent job getting back in shape. Just if our police officers don't reach retirement age and leave, they get their contribution back. So we've taken a lot of pressure off on the police side, we've had a lot of officers move on. And then fire, like I said, we've got some people on there, but. We'll see how it goes. State gives us a little bit of money to put in that investment fund each year too. Those are our main investment vehicles right now. Talking about the cemetery board, I guess we've been talking about starting a trust for the Arnold Cemetery, so we can maybe, as usual, allow, try to build that into our budget, put a little bit of money away. Cause those things aren't going away, you know.
problem with the Arnold Cemetery is. People aren't buried there anymore. And
No, there's
most of it,
and that's usually how you generate your funds.
most of the people there were buried 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, and maybe don't even have any descendants.
No, so I think it's left to the people today to try to figure out a way to fund those long term, and so. With those investment vehicles, maybe we can build a fund up over time, but some people like to charitably get into those types of things, and so we're trying to. Like our Montpelier Trust, we're not taking any of the principal away, we just live off the interest, and then we take. General funds, that's something that needed costs.
There's at least one that I know of, maybe 2, that the monument on,
Yeah, Montpelier,
yeah.
all right, let us know about it. Try to get it fixed.
I didn't pay attention, but I walked through
Yeah.
there and.
I'd love to see that more, I mean, that's, no, everybody gets a little weirded out by it, but to me, those cemeteries should be more of a public gathering space of some sort, you know, for walking and things of that nature. I don't know if anybody likes to have picnics in the cemetery, but yeah, it'd be nice. It's, I was in a town in Vermont where they locked the cemetery up and you wouldn't even get in there without special permission. I don't know, it was vandalism or what, but it just seemed like a whole lot of resources to use for something that had really,
Well,
It was full of
there
goods.
used to be a fence all the way around.
Montpelier.
Oh, there used to be a fence and then a
guys,
gate on each.
they kind of tore, just
Gate.
wore out and tore, fell over more than anything, didn't it?
Well,
The chain link fence? Or raw line?
no, wrought iron.
Those
Yeah.
probably antique or stolen.
And so the birthday bush.
All right, our next line item is return to mayor. Form of government, that would be under a charter modification. Honesty when dealing with citizens,
We'll stick it over there for now.
yeah,
Okay.
that's. Having a good, having a vision for the future. Maybe just a character. Category.
About planning.
Planning commission.
Well, I just mean, there's an honesty when dealing with citizens, have strong leaders and committed citizens. You know, that might be just under,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know, character, what is the word that comes to mind, but I don't know if there's a better word to describe that.
Transparency? It's not, doesn't take that second one, but of course,
Yeah. Well, let's get these last three, getting residents involved.
how we call this, public involvement.
Problem with transparency is you can be totally transparent, but they're too lazy to actually find the transparent document. And they'll get on social
Well-
media and say, well, I can't find what they did. Well, then all you have to do is click here, but no, they want you to, here's what we did.
There's so many of these that have a backstory behind
Yeah.
it that we don't know the backstory, so, I mean. I don't know if doing a good job is a compliment or they want us to do it.
You know, after I got through all these comments, I just gonna leave that one, because I just felt like I needed a little bit.
I hate to say this, but what the city does need a marketing group. Because the city does a lot, no one knows anything about.
You're
And the people that work hard for the city, if not, there's always a group that's never satisfied, and they're the ones that speak the loudest. Was someone that's satisfied never says anything.
Right.
And you almost have
Public
to,
relations.
you have to have a good public relations, a good marketing strategy that. I think a lot of, anytime a building needs to be is tore down, or anything the city does that spends money that's outside, that shows up in some of these things. I think it should be brought up in a meeting, what the city has done.
And
I mean.
again, if they do, and how many people, yeah, you may do it at the meeting, but then it doesn't make,
Yeah. But you always have an overview.
I mean, even if it goes into the Democrat, but how many people don't?
Only 800 subscribers they got. or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think that word of mouth is always,
Mhm.
when people are talking, sure, yeah. What do we want to do with that other category here? We've got two more to go. Public involvement, we already did that. Okay, so,
You okay with that title?
how about public interaction? That's really what it is the relationship between the administration and the public. I think that's, okay, doesn't, we okay with how we've got that? All right. Thank you for your enthusiastic response. We're moving on to community development. Let's do that. I'm sorry. That's,
We did do that?
it's really the only gift. That's my biggest strength is sarcasm.
Sarcasm turns your beard gray. Turn your beard gray. Actually, I think a couple meetings ago, he didn't have that gray beard, did he?
He started dying, it just turned all.
I did.
I watched it die out.
I get more respect. With
Wisdom. Stuff out of your way here.
Oh, no, leave it there, that's.
Next thing you know, I'll bring a wizard staff. with
Well,
me.
we're not working. Maybe don't want to do that.
It's community development. Okay, that's a two.
It's a 2-column.
Put a bumper on that while we're having a meeting.
Well, yeah, I'll say.
Cut it back.
This makes February.
Yeah, we wonder what it is, though.
All right, you got any headings there? I have any lists.
Oh,
Capitalize them to where
some of these really would be in the parks area. I mean, they overlap, just kind of like the sidewalks overlap, so. Just, you've got community gardens, trees, river walk.
Say, I'm gonna put public spaces. That sound good? Yes, tourism.
So. Am I reading that right? Or under the blue? Am I reading?
I think somebody was suggesting that we should have like sewing classes or something like that. I remember that.
Yeah. Come to the seniors, I don't know.
You get that sewing?
They do quilting.
There's a quilting,
I help
there's a
teachers.
quilting group in Weston, Broad, a lot of them go to Broad Street Church, they meet people's houses, they're their little portable sewing machines with them wherever they go. And then
About,
big time.
green space, something like that, transportation, that one's. um, Yeah, public spaces is fine. Um,
And about public development.
well, we're under community development as our,
And
major head there.
Change that, legal. Public transportation.
Um,
Streetcar, can I put that up there?
mhm. Okay, so you're on, 4-2 meeting.
School projects?
So, let's say maybe quality of life, things that improve civic pride, under events. I don't know.
Learn skill, let's think that under school projects.
Let's go by some.
I don't want to skate.
Inventory of community services and skills.
Maybe a skills category.
Instead of sewing, should be a little more general, like.
Well, what's interesting and I think kind of cool about the feedback is it's all in personal perspective. That-
We'll put youth need somewhere to go under public spaces.
Yeah, there you go. I think
Place to
so.
hold annual Christmas dinner. In our public spaces. Library roof, retaining wall and drainage.
You know,
It is another one already.
No,
Must be an old one, huh?
it's done, library, the roof's done,
I think that's where we got involved.
retaining wall's done,
Somebody came to that meeting and said something,
we have some mortar pointing we need to do.
community livability and business. That's.
Our problem is finding somebody to do the work.
Yeah,
Challenge.
especially some of the stuff you guys have to do is very specific. You can even do that kind of work.
Oh, no, we need new gutters, it's like, you think, hey, the only people want to do the gutter job at the library.
What we call this one?
$5,000 a bid,
What we call that one, right? Skills.
mhm.
that's what they want to get, but they look, oh, we're gonna bring in a lift, we have to have a lift, it would be, it'll be this many days, $1,000 a day.
Community livability.
Like this, climbing ladders.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's. Yeah, can we do that? Affordable contract.
Throw one on there.
I like this one. Where do you put that one?
Create something. We did, no mention.
What do you imagine it could be? Very nice.
Skills.
You know, but that's kind of interesting because. And we all see these Facebook things, top 7 things in West Virginia, but when they list the place, you know, the neat little towns to go to, it's always like. Fayetteville, Davis, Thomas, Lewisburg, but they all have something, and then when I go there, I'm like, I don't really want to go in there, and I don't really want to go in there. But people from other places. We used to Fayetteville a couple weeks ago. Come that place downtown Fayetteville was packed, and I'm like, where are they going to? But they were all tourists, out of state license plates.
Yeah.
And the bridge, it's not bridge day either, it's the winter. But you gotta have that draw.
National Park changed it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Made a difference. There's all these little towns, something to go in there. Mothman, or Flatwoods does their Mothman, something does Bigfoot.
Riverwalk would be under.
Cryptids.
Public spaces.
Once by them, I mean, no, they do with the Flatwoods.
Business
Mothman
development.
They do a monster. We need a historical monster here. You know what?
Yeah, that doesn't help Flatwoods anymore. Help Sutton, but didn't help Flatwoods.
That's tough, because
What, I'm gonna say.
It's not
Yeah.
just that, it's, you know, what's really big, there are a lot of families,
that would be
more and more families every
public
year.
space as well.
They spend their vacations visiting historic cities.
Yeah.
That is a big deal.
Trees,
That's really.
trees, community gardens.
To me, that's all, public spaces.
Put that under skills for the art.
Yeah, what do you
Public
have?
spaces.
What do you have under skills development? Create a place where people can learn skills. Community center.
That's what we're working towards, isn't it?
Mhm. But I mean, if you look down the list, the Columbia Club's on there.
You know, people are always asking, where can I have a place, hold an event, or where can I go to? I think we actually have more places than you think, but people don't know that or think of them.
You know, I had a hard time just once a year between the Lake Ripple and Skinner reunions. You know, find a place that's reasonable. And to do what,
What do
you
you
know,
want to do?
what they want to do. There are restrictions put on it. And the cost is so high, we can't afford it.
What do you wanna do that you can't do?
We do it, the last 2 years we've been having it down at the Legion Hall there in Jane Lou.
You get like drink alcohol or something, is that what I think?
No, they didn't. We had the Lewis County, a lot of people volunteer. We had the Lewis County girls. Bluegrass, whatever, they come down and play, but they didn't ask for any money. And we contributed money to them. But we approached them and asked them to come down. They were happy to come down and play. And that was one of the best groups that I've seen. Of course, some of them were related in a way.
Everybody.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on how large a group you have, what the meeting.
Yeah,
is
a
for.
category.
I know the Glass Museum, we can usually. In the one room have 40 or 50 people and.
Under your
we let people
business
use it.
development, that first.
And we've had different groups come in and have meetings there, but no one even thinks to ask, no one even thinks to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike didn't give them that.
Well, I'll ask you next.
And then the library, has
What is that?
the library has a couple rooms, one, and every one some big renovations. Really easily for a small group to meet and, you know, available to the public and that they're.
The update residential part, that would be livability.
I bring in a bunch of food.
Ability?
The next one is.
Well, that's what we do. We fix our own food right there.
Uh,
I'll put that under. Public spaces. For now.
Life.
Livability.
Keep it natural, embrace local beauty.
I'm seeing beautification in here is what I'm seeing. That's
Yeah.
gonna be its own.
Yeah.
Its own category.
Planting trees so that who up your sidewalk or grow into power line. These level, you figure out the house, street.
Well, I just had a discussion with the gentleman that moved into Weston back a long time ago,
All businesses.
and he stayed with people there. in the
Business. All events. Okay, yeah,
Residence
yeah.
there across from the moose,
About, so this we
and
did.
he told about pulling in and parking, and breaking his mirror off his truck, was hit one of
That's the best.
one of the trees. I won't tell you what kind he called it, but he said he was so happy with it.
That could fit into a couple of them.
Shade's great till you try to go garden. I said Shade's great till you try to go garden.
I do like trees.
I do.
We have the transportation.
Good public transportation up there.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with my brain.
We got a
Maybe.
big one in our yard.
That'd be
The greens are
beautiful.
hard on the push button.
We'll stick there. I think it's more of a, probably a safety thing than.
And that's all over the place.
The 96 isn't in city limits. Not worried about it.
There's
You know,
transportation.
in front of my yard, I can't know anything like that. Even flowers.
Transportation or just bring people in, they'll drop off. Leave them.
No, they'll grow for a little while, and then it seemed like something.
Sorry,
killed us.
updating apartments.
And it
Just
Just
fashion streetlights, and be beautification. And,
yeah, that never happened here.
or what do we have there? We have something, public spaces or events or something there.
Well,
What are they doing right now with the Columbia Club?
All we do is feed the people.
Anything?
Want to move this to more trees.
You can make me
That's
to that
beautiful.
question.
Yeah, that would, both of those would be beautification. More tree community. gardens.
Fix the city art. Beautification.
Beautification, yeah. The local beauty.
Better Historic Society.
Beautification.
Put under marketing.
There you go.
The only good, one of the good things about you have to put your name on comment paper, then you have to tell him to point into the historic.
There you
Yeah.
go. Nick, have you answered Clara's question?
Right here.
Oh, I just asked what was happening with the Columbia building right at.
Well, we've got our RFP out for more planning, engineering services, and we've kind of set on that, hoping that our federal earmark would be a lot farther along than it is. So I saw the news yesterday, I think that Congress is up against the wall again on the government shutdowns, because they haven't passed a budget or a continuing resolution, or however you want to define, however they fund the government these days. So from our congressional representative, they've said we're awaiting that budget process to finish up for the money to be. The process for these that money must start.
What agencies that through? That
I think USDA for their community facilities.
A lot of things are funded through USDA. I could never figure out what it had to do with the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
That storm drain over my area.
USDA.
And that USDA had a lot of utility work, the rural water services, they do a lot of that work. This is the community facilities program, I guess in rural areas maybe. They also do food stamps, don't they? Doesn't the farm bill take care of food stamps?
I found a box of cheese.
Yeah.
Best cheese there.
I think we just got to look at one more category, and that's services. The two there, I mean, that's really its own category.
Fine, leaving them alone.
Yeah, trash company. How many, if we just get the one comment on the trash company?
That's it. I'm not sure if that's my comment.
Just curious who surveyed it is.
I don't know, I mean, I did say, I think you mentioned about if we had our own trash company, we might be able to charge less.
Did I talk about that last time?
Yeah,
2 times ago.
2 times.
for some reason or another, we did.
There's few people.
The last 2 times. Actually, every
Every time I've seen
Well.
I
we
changed
might
the
have
contact
been
info,
talking
our buddy was Nate,
about-
yeah, trash company. Stansberry.
That's very trash company.
All right,
One man in the truck.
And then internet.
yeah, that, the trash and internet, which. I don't know, what does the city have? The power to do when it comes to public utilities like that? Or have we contracted everything out? Or is it, are we in a contract and that runs out and
I
then?
think the mayor wants to explain this, what she says.
And
Give me the eye.
Well, it's called pass the buck, isn't it?
yeah. Like, we lived inside of West Milford city limits and everything was run by, Greater Harrison. But we paid our water bill to the city of Weston and our sewer bill to, Greater Harrison. But if you looked outside of the city limits, I mean, one house could be here, one house could be here, it's just, it was basically who runs your meter and serviced your line. So. It's the city own our public utilities or.
Not for 100 years. I mean, one time.
Yeah, one time they had the electric, water, sewage, I mean, they had everything.
So. This, I'll keep it from the ditch, it's just a hypothetical question. If the city developed an area. Would we have the ability, if we ran the water lines, would we have the ability to have that, or is that not even an option?
I don't think so.
I think that, if you, like if you develop an area. My understanding that you can. So it has to be a separate little organization within that organization. Like a water, sewage, electric. The only thing it couldn't do is a phone. It's just like the city of Philippine. When they own their own utilities. And they buy the service, in other words, they buy the natural gas, they buy the water,
Right.
they buy everything, but then they charge for it. And that can be done. That's my understanding.
Philippi owns their electrical utility.
Really?
They own that, and I think New Martinsville does. That's it, from what I've seen in West Virginia.
Mhm. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Jane Lou used standard gas, wasn't it? Pretty much.
And then they
By
sold
Jane Lou, then they sold the Mike Ross.
my cross in.
Okay.
You would know about water services.
I'd have to check in, I really don't know, as far as like with an American Water, because they have a lot of this around here, but. I know when it comes to PSDs, the state kind of tried to lay those boundaries, but a lot of times it's who can get there first with water. Too, and if you got a project, you can pick these people up, and so, I mean, if you keep trying to move in on that area. I just think it depends on how aggressive you will be, but that might be something, American Water is a private company, so I don't know that they're. Will be looked at like a PSD. But
I think you can essentially. Weston could start its own water company tomorrow, I think, without too much fuss, but. Who's your customer base and what's your infrastructure, right?
yeah,
Are you buying water? Are you making water? Right, what pipe you running it through, you're starting from scratch.
And,
You'd have that right to, but who would, I guess, at this point?
you would almost certainly be buying water, otherwise the cost of startup would be,
It'd be tremendous.
yeah. I mean, for what it costs to lay pipe right now, and if you're only picking up 20, 30 people, I mean, you don't have to worry about if it's laid right, if it's expected right and all that, you don't have a lot of leaks for a number of years. You know, we're helping with, Doddridge County PSD right now. Worked with them for almost a year, not a single leak yet. It's a brand new water system, you know, so for a while, that might be all right. As long as you can pay your bills and stuff, but are you gonna have that customer base? You know, for the maintenance and, I think long-term,
Question.
yeah, so if you could get started and you could keep growing it. Is there an area that you could grow that in and maybe continue to develop and? Might be a place that desirable homes are, you know, you bring some. Wealth into the area that. You know, might then, if they live here, they would look to invest in the area and stuff, I mean. Some of those things could be ideal, but I mean, I think it's a broader. Probably thing than just water you'd have to look at, but that would be.
I've done a couple, I'll just throw some things at you. I've looked at a few, the dam was built for hydro, right?
Yeah,
Nobody's ever picked up that manhole and run with it, and I think for probably good reason, because it's not really feasible I'm not what, from the entire standpoint, but at least from a private side, probably not enough electricity made to justify the investment. We've got this low head, but we don't have it. American Water has the low head dam here in town. There's been some conversations about the long-term prognosis of that. I was looking at some hydro potential there just to see what it would look like and things of that nature. So, you know, maybe you could start a electric portion, or maybe just have some features like our solar. You know, if Weston owned 32 acres up on top of a ridge top and you wanted to build a solar farm, maybe you could do that and sell power back. But I know there's a ton of regulations in the electrical world that probably the power companies would put their thumbs on us really quickly and defeat us, but. Trash is one that, you know, I have.
That's low hanging fruit.
It kind of,
Compared
if
to
you want to
the
have
other
another
services.
service. And as we, you know, we're the planning commission, I guess, in a sense, right? And we're trying to have a conversation about annexation. So you go out to people and you say, hey, come into the city of Weston, and everybody's like, well, what can you offer me? Nothing.
You've already given them sewage.
Yeah, they've got.
If you hadn't given
Yeah.
sewage, you could offer them
Yeah,
sewage.
but we had a customer come to the sanitary board this past week and say, hey, we would like to see our sewer, get sewer to our house outside of city limits. Pretty close to city limits. We're like, well, you know, either you can pay for the sewer line, you put the bill cost for it, you can pay for the sewer line. Or if you thought about annexing in, maybe we could run it for nothing, right? It's unified sewer for all city residents. And didn't even flinch, did they, Mayor? It was like, nah, I'm not interested, we better pay for our sewer, you come in. And I tried to ask a probing question like, why? And it was just, I'm just fine, I'm fine the way I am. Don't need to come in. And so I think without some kind of, we're gonna struggle to expand if that is our goal. Without some kind of offering of services that are either better or not available to people.
yeah.
You know, otherwise.
I mean, they're taking water
Yep.
of every holler in West Virginia pretty much.
Mhm.
So you can't offer them water.
And the way the law is, it's tough to make people come in for water or for utility connections anyways, but.
Yeah,
Yeah, Buchanan does run a garbage service outside their city limits. I think they've got the whole county. Or yeah, Regional County Commission.
Really?
Yeah, they do. And I wouldn't recommend that personally, because I think when you drive up Wildcat and you've got to pick up the garbage at one house at the end of Strawberry Lane or whatever it is up the end there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Your high density areas are the ones that are carrying that service.
And you have people who don't get trash services.
Yeah.
They just don't do it. And does anybody knock on their door and say, I want to see your receipts?
At times when we get a bunch of junk, we do, but I sit there and say, you know, we pay a municipal service fee. If we had a trash service, we could build that into your service fee, and we're gonna pick up your trash whether you sign up or not. And then you've got things like large items where people struggle to get those out of their house. And it's like, if we had a municipal service, we could have a flatbed truck or whatnot, call up there and call in and we'll pick it up for a small nominal fee or whatever it is, you know. So I do see from a cleanliness standpoint some advantages there.
Is there anything, and this is just a question from ignorance, is there anything prohibiting, if I wanted to start a trash company and I just go around knocking on doors and say, hey, I'll pick up your trash?
I think there is.
Really?
So like, I don't know all the ins and outs, but Mountain State Waste is a private garbage company. and they have, I think it's called a certificate of need.
Okay.
Or something of that,
Like a
effect.
hospital.
And they essentially block out any competition in that area
Mhm.
with that service.
The taxing service works that way as well.
And so as a municipality, we have the right to define who's gonna to franchise and grant franchises, who's gonna operate within our city.
Hmm.
And so if we didn't like, or Mountain State Waste, our current arrangement with them is not very official, I don't think. I think they've just, they were Weston Transfer, and then when they became Mountain State Waste, they just assumed all the rights and stuff, and we've never picked that up. And they still pay a franchise fee, so it's not like they're getting away scot-free. But we've never made any kind of proactive action towards them. But if if you popped up, I think they'd make a complaint with the Public Service Commission very quickly and push you out of the way.
You know, smaller scale, but it would be like
Yeah.
me. You know, putting a hospital in and. Gotcha.
But I think
Maybe worse.
I think you can contract with individuals like
The city?
business. In
Okay,
other words, if you want to, you contact a business, I'll haul your
Yeah.
garbage away so much a month or whatever.
I'm not,
that.
I'm
And-
not
and-
ready to do that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying
Well,
though,
you brought it up.
Well-
I wanna do it.
because you
That's how
know,
the
these larger people like, well, like Kroger's, I know used to be a long time ago. Kroger's had a contract
Mhm.
and they bundled all their cardboard. But they sold their cardboard. It didn't go to Western.
From so, yeah.
They were allowed to do that. And I know Western Circuit, they complained about it, but see, they didn't offer a recovery, whatever,
Recycling service.
recycling service.
Buchanan does, Buchanan picks up recyclables, they've got a little bit of, I shouldn't say little, but they got a warehouse there, they bundle everything in and do all that stuff.
Of course, that's been a long time ago.
So that's your right as municipality, internet's on there, I'll tell you why I left that in there, is that I think that is a possibility in some stretch of the imagination. If you had some kind, I think you've got the ability to franchise with somebody if you wanted to try to get them here, like I think Bridgeport had an agreement with CityNet. At one point in time where they ran fiber, I think Philippe's done the same thing. So you may be able to recruit somebody in at that portion. I've had some conversations with some of these wireless internet service providers, about, could Weston make the investment in creating a WISP where there's pockets of our county that seemingly are never gonna get internet in our lifetime. Is there a way for us to make that happen quicker with the rights of the municipality? Those are questions we've kind of explored. So, I don't know, I think my experience out in the Midwest was they were full service cities, some of them were running, they had their own fiber company and everything else, they were running electric companies. George, you've talked about your.
Henderson, Kentucky was
Yeah.
that way. They had, the only thing they didn't have was their phone. Was the phones, the only thing they didn't have.
Which is the utility not to be in right now, because everybody's canceling their landline, going internet based.
But they had, of course, they had their own engineering service that took care of. My next door neighbor was the engineer for the city of Henderson. And he looked after the sewage and the gas, natural gas and electric.
Yeah.
And he designed all their lines and all that stuff.
That's one thing I never wondered, why didn't Weston back in the olden days just drill itself some hidden gas wells and supply everybody with natural gas?
Well,
It's municipality.
well, I know when they started Crescent Window Glass. One of the incentives for the window glass factory, no, we're talking 1903.
Yeah.
The factory got free gas.
How old were you then?
He got free gas.
Huh.
So that's why but then as the years went by, suddenly it's like, well, the free gas isn't there anymore. So you had to start charging a little bit. And Louis, he built a factory in Glenville in 1941 because of access to free gas.
Mhm.
So. That factory was there about 10 years. So that's how, that was the incentive to get you. You got free gas.
Yeah.
For your factory.
Well, a lot of this, and Nate, I actually appreciate your forward thinking, because a lot of this. You rarely get what you go after, but you find what you need in the way. And sometimes just fishing, you don't get what you're fishing for, but something else bites and so it's never a lost cause exploring these opportunities, for sure. That's my opinion anyway. On the comprehensive plan, So we have organized all of our community input. Where do we need to go from here? What's the next step in that? You know, as we've talked about the comprehensive plan for the last, well over a year, we've said, no, it's really not due until this board. And here we are, 2024, and I feel like that we've made some progressive steps forward and all of that's good. However, we're going to enter crunch time here pretty soon. So what do you think our next step is to forward in the comprehensive plan? So when we meet again, it's like, okay, this is what we're doing.
I don't know, Mr. President, what do you think?
Well, I'm only going to be president until we get to item number 4. So maybe that should be the next item of business, and someone else can look at that. I think are we to the point where we need to start sitting down and writing the actual document out? And
In the old plan, they had basically a matrix of kind of like decision points or tasks, I should say. These are things we want to accomplish. I think my vision was when we organized all these in the different ones, that you could then take these things that were kind of split into categories and sit there and say, well, everybody says fix the old housing, fix old housing. Maybe one of our actions items should be fix the old housing. Where you say, we need more beauty, we need more trees, we need more that. Maybe we need to have a dedicated beautification team, whatever the answer is there. I think that was the
right,
the
gotcha.
idea for me, for you guys,
So-
to help sort those things out so you can kind of develop those input.
So if you email this document to us and we're able to look at it and go, okay, we're going to take this and break it up into action items.
I think that should be your next
I
step.
mean, some things, just to comment on that. Some things are like the overarching themes of this is really what we need to do. Like better lighting at exit 96 is totally out of our hands. Sewing might not be the right thing to develop an action plan on. So as we put every comment in order here, now's the time to kind of weed out the ones that we can actually address and the ones that we can't. Is that a fair statement? So, okay. Well, what would be the best course of action? Do we want to actually take the headings and divvy that up, or do we want to kind of do that overview, and then when we come back together, start collecting our thoughts on that?
A thought, I don't know, maybe throw it out base here, but if we went kind of column by column, would we be able to maybe do that a little bit over email? As far as weeding a few out, just getting some ideas, but interacting with each other. That way, when we come back in, there might not be as much lifting to get through as far as maybe getting some clarification on exactly how it's worded. Would that be beneficial, or do you think that would be?
We certainly can.
I'm just trying to think of how it might work best for everybody.
I will most definitely handle it if we're sitting here at this table talking about it. I may not be the best at
I guess.
Doing homework.
Yeah.
yeah. That's just my own
Yeah.
my own frailty there.
Why don't we split it up amongst the headings that we have there, those 6 or 7 headings? But could we, I guess, volunteer for those things via email and say, hey, I'm gonna cover this, and we'll make sure that, and then by the next meeting, whatever heading you've assigned yourself, bring your points to that meeting.
If you need help, reach out to other members of the group.
Or
But
even,
I don't.
or even share them, you can share them via email, right? So these is the three headings I
What you're
developed.
thinking.
I volunteer for the services.
That's a great example.
Which one says tree? What's the heading for the trees, like 4 or 5 times?
Trees.
Pick that one.
Plant
Action point. Let's plant some trees the next 10 years. Hmm.
wanna add one thing here is like, I just want you all to feel empowered, like, we've heard the public's input. But, and I don't wanna demean the public, but the public doesn't have their ear to the ground very well to a lot of these things, right? So I think if you just rest on what the public said, you probably haven't done your job in a sense. To me, you've been coerced or volunteered or voluntold to be on this commission because people think you have some good ideas or some good wisdom and things of that nature. So, you know, you've heard the public's input, but now you're the commission. Feel free to sit there and say, well, you know, I think we really need this, but nobody say anything about it. Feel free to say, no, this is Alan Westfall's opinion, and I'm gonna stick it in there because I think that's your ability. Now, the whole group will decide whether it's worth putting in or not, I think, but don't feel like this is all you have to look at. I think there's things that are out there on the table that are not mentioned.
Yeah.
That's a good thought. Okay, I'm looking. Do you have, can you just scroll over to what our different,
Sort of input.
yeah.
Or I thought we had. Okay, infrastructure, public safety, economic development, code enforcement, administration, parks, community development and services.
Probably the two biggest, community development, and it seems like infrastructure was a big one. Economic development, those three are. So I'll take a look at economic development and try to take those headings and get some action points set up in that, and then we can all review them together. Okay, so I'm gonna write down who's got what. Don't everybody volunteer at once, because I mean, I write slow, so if you don't mind just to slow down a little bit there so I can get your name. Is there any one of these topics that
I don't feel real strong on code enforcement. Or just have to live by the codes instead of having, so I'll be fine to look at parks or something, you know, I mean, it looks like it has quite a few in it.
I'll do code enforcement.
Now, is community development so large that it's got two columns going down or what?
it is, and some of these, as you go through and look, some of them really are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like sidewalks was mentioned on 2 or 3 different of these, these categories, so.
Whatever you want to assign me, I'll.
The public safety and infrastructure.
All right.
Both of them, or which one?
Whichever one. What's public safety? That's police, fire. And I'll do public safety. I'll do that. Like it, since they robbed the glass machine. We know it is.
Dave, did you have a preference? of
Thank
what
God
you'd
it's
like to
EVS.
work on?
No,
No, it-
Okay, all right,
I'll do anything.
He's in disguise.
I'll try.
He had some stuff.
okay.
Mayor, what do you think about handling the administration part of that? I mean, you're,
I think that's fine.
it is not a huge category. And
So Kim, you need to pick out another one that you would work with me, because you know I don't
Sure.
do computers.
What do you have,
I do.
I think there's community development, that's really the.
Well, I
And
feel
infrastructure,
okay.
who does that, who has infrastructure?
Oh. I think Nate should have that.
Infrastructure. Okay. I did code enforcement, I thought.
You did.
Oh, and infrastructure.
You know, we,
I don't know.
we could go have lunch and work on that infrastructure together.
Services.
Nate will have infrastructure and,
What do you have left? I'll take whatever you got left.
oh, he'll take infrastructure.
So,
Is that, if that's what you got left, I'll work on it.
Bruce will probably do one.
what do we have?
Community development.
Community development
Then we
is
can
what's-
put Claire there.
And I'll try to go through and from the administration side and say, hey, these are things we're working on
What
or
did I get into?
things I guess I'd suggest. Help
Yeah.
everybody out.
We can see.
For real. You obviously, I'm just teasing you, but you obviously have given a lot more thought into the service aspect.
It's got my job.
So why don't you, on the services end of it, why don't you put together some action points of what that actually might look like? If we were to take those steps. And, I mean. The council has to approve that. We're just gonna present this to the council, they've got to read over and approve. So they look at it and go, I don't think so. Or Al Borland, one, I don't think so.
You'll send that sheet out.
Yeah,
to us?
yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on the comprehensive plan? Thank you. I feel like we got a lot accomplished. That's good. New business is the election of officers for this year, the president, vice president. I have been president for 2 years. I don't think I am able to be president for the third. According to our bylaws, so. Someone either had to volunteer for that or someone had to make a nomination.
I'll nominate Alan Westfall.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Well, no, I mean, Al, have you been here for a year yet?
Just about a year.
It's just about been the year. So, I mean. You know, it's not,
Before the Van Quill, huh?
this really
That's
is,
too much.
this year. Is about as complicated as the planning commission gets as far as the comprehensive plan, you know, and getting that over the finish line. And I mean, I personally think that out of all of us here, you probably are the guy most equipped to do it if you're willing to.
What all are the duties of president?
Call the meeting to order.
You're keeping control of the meeting. And there's communication on the agenda, but we all have that ability to, you know, to.
Ultimately, the president sets the agenda.
Right.
Okay,
And Judy will assist you in that endeavor, but
Judy really is. I mean, she'll send you the agenda, is there anything that you want to add? Is this all right? And we usually all get that email, but you're the one that says, yes, that's the agenda we're going with. And then following very loosely the Robert's Rules of Order that we do, and then sign reports.
the only hesitation I have is just the volume. of Work where we're trying to hire in a wastewater manager to work under me. So I've got a lot going on and that pulls me, you know, day and night sometimes, but I just want to do a good job if I do it. You know what I mean? It's not
I think we're flexible in our expectations.
you go back the other day.
Hey, Dave doesn't care as long as he's not the president. Hey, could I make a suggestion? If this pleases everybody, when Anna was president and she asked that of me, I said, I'll do it if you'll be vice president. And I'm still a resident for the foreseeable future. And I would be willing to be the vice president and run that as an acting.
Yes.
To get the comprehensive plan over the finish line.
Okay.
And that means if you're not able to come to a meeting, then I would step in that.
I'd feel better about that. I think we just, that would help a lot. Maybe I could, you can advise me a little bit until I feel like I'm just confident in it. What I don't want is to be a drop off You know, you hand the torch to me and then.
I guarantee
I'm not.
you that you cannot do a worse job. Nice.
Do we need a second on that motion? Renominating.
I nominated him and I'll nominate him for vice president. If I throw that in. Yeah. All in favor.
Are the nominations closed?
Yes.
No, do I have to close them? Are the nominations closed? All,
You can declare them closed.
okay, I declare.
Loosely do Robert's rule.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Thank you for that. So those nominations are closed. Do we have to vote on that separately or can we vote on that together?
You
president,
can vote on the slate presented.
The slate presented is Alan Westfall as president, Dan Bond as vice president, for this next year. Do I have a motion to,
I'll make that motion.
all right, is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay.
You took Clara's job.
All,
Sorry, Claire.
all in favor of that slate, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
I'm gonna oppose because I want the president to wear a Marshall shirt from time to time.
That's
I can do that. I don't have a problem.
All right, so well, that motion will carry. And before we set the next meeting date, is there any public comment? Bruce, you are here this evening. Anything that,
Bruce, I just provided him a copy of that email we sent today.
Okay,
I don't know if you want to talk about that at all with him or
I
not.
think it's pretty self-explanatory.
We appreciate your input.
I can just make one note about the subdivision and land development ordinance. That could go a long way to covering the community development idea. And what that involves is the city ultimately adopting such an ordinance, which is going to be probably prepared by the planning commission. But in that ordinance, the purpose of it really is to identify areas in the city that are going to be developed. Or that needs development or whatever. And however, you don't actually determine how those areas are going to be developed in the ordinance. After the city adopts the ordinance, it is the planning commission's obligation to create another comprehensive plan that will specify how those chosen areas are going to be developed. And that's how you go about bringing about a lot of new development in the city for commercial or residential or whatever.
Bruce, what if the city has a land reuse agency? Would the planning commission still be charged with developing that plan? Or would that be a job for the land reuse agency?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. I think you're gonna have to.
Is there any reuse
I'm not quite sure what the legalities are.
Okay. Can you look into all of those photos?
No, I'll try.
And let me know?
Yeah.
And not that Weston is going to, but, you know, we flirted with the idea, so I wanna know what we need to do, just in case.
I would think that a planning commission and their land use planning would kind of be, I won't say overtaught, but the work of the land reuse authority would kind of filter through that, right? They kind of set this plan for the city,
Yeah,
so
I
if the
think
land
they'll
reuse
do that.
authority sitting there saying, well, the planning commission has kind of determined this sector is all gonna be single family residential, so as we reuse these properties, we're gonna try to put single family residential back in there. I would think that's how it kind of.
Yeah,
loosely works.
yes, that makes a lot of sense.
As properties become available.
Yeah.
And yes, you're gonna have to start thinking about
Probably that church.
looking for a professional planner. Because
I,
none of us have any
Yes.
experience in that kind of thing, but it's gonna be a professional planner that's going to be doing a lot of work in the redevelopment of the areas that you choose for redevelopment.
So they just need to be APA certified?
Well, you've got, yeah, there are different certifications and so forth, but you want somebody who's going to be able to, oversee the project. They're going to be meeting with potential investors in the redevelopment projects. and taking responsibility for just overseeing the progress of the development, the given development.
It's,
Every city that has zoning and also is involved in development has to have a professional planner. So you might start, you might want to start talking maybe with Christie about that, the move.
Okay.
She might be able to.
is that something? Um. Obviously, a larger city would have a city planner. But is that something that you could contract, like we have a city attorney, but it's not necessarily full-time here? I mean,
I think you can do whatever you want to do.
I would think so.
you could have a city planner that you're contracting, and maybe that leads into a full-time thing, but I honestly, it would be.
My cup
really
of tea, I mean,
awesome
or
to
my
have.
suggestion would be is to have the planning commission contract with a planner and drive that contracted planner's skill set through you guys. You know, work in tandem together for whatever you're developing. That would be my preference, I think. Like to have somebody sitting upstairs as a planner, at this point is probably
Right,
a little,
right, I agree.
but if you have like special projects, you know, say West Second Street, we want to redevelop West Second Street. I think you contract with a planner to come in and try, be your planner over that project.
Riverwalk,
The Riverwalk.
canoe trail.
The guy that we had lunch with there at the um, one of the state parks there, is he a planner? With that conference,
Oh,
Been to so many, you can't remember.
I've had a lot of lunches.
just every day. You know what I'm talking about? He was, he used to work with Thrasher, but he's with, the newer,
CET now or something?
yeah, I think it is CC. But he spoke there and then,
Jim, something or other, that
Jim
guy.
Christie. Yeah, it was Jim Christie that day. We were eating our salads up there.
what is he? Is he a planner?
Remember what he ate?
He's a landscape architect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really his area of expertise.
Jim Christie, was it?
That would be, I mean,
Jim.
we gotta run out a little bit out of time, but first something else to take for the planning commission. This riverfront project, we have the funds to basically redo the parking lot and add some features to the parking lot. I personally think that it's a good phase one, but if that's where we end, we've probably not achieved what we've all hoped and dreamed. This river corridor needs some kind of plan, the downtown nexus needs some kind of plan. And we've really struggled to get that. I started out with a whitewater feature, and so some streams out west they had modified their channel to basically form some artificial rapids where people could put in a tube or a kayak and make their way down the stream. And so I tried to get council at one point in time to fund a preliminary study, $15,000 or something like that, to start work on, at least to see if that was even feasible in our stretch of stream and what it would take of that nature. I think we needed to engage in some kind of effort to get that thing planned out in a better form and fashion than just having a parking lot project. And it's kind of a project in search of a home. You know, the city manager can do everything, but it's tough. I think the more you have a group of people working together, the better. And Parks and Rec should be involved in some form or fashion if it comes to a park, but studying that corridor, I think would be an excellent task for the planning commission to be involved with it. I'm thinking about the legislature's getting ready to start their session up again. Usually, if you get down there in time, we can go to our elected representatives and say, hey, they've got some economic development dollars. They can kind of earmark certain funds for certain things. And that usually ends up being $20,000 to $50,000 from the projects I've seen. And so that'd be something that, if we wanted to get in the ear of our representation, and if that's a project you guys want to take on, I'd be in full support of that. And I think that'd be an excellent thing for the planning commission to work on. And it'd be an exciting thing. What do you think, Mayor?
I'm in agreement. I want to see it done.
That might be a good way. And then at that point, if you if you can get those funds to have a study done, then engage yourself a planner, right? And study that corridor, and you guys be the manager of that contracted planner and their works. See how you like it, go from there. What do you think, Bruce, we're on the right track?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, let's look at the next meeting date.
Al's the president, right?
Um,
Texting him and late at night, and I have planning thoughts.
This is absolutely,
You're not president anymore, how can you plan?
well, I don't guess I can. I mean,
All right, Al, when we meet.
yeah,
Okay, well,
But you're willing to do it. I heard
Would
you
it
say
be March?
We were going, kind of on a monthly schedule, do we wanna try to?
Do you think we'll be able to get our pieces done in a month?
Late February, maybe?
Maybe late February, if that's okay with everybody.
at the second last week, February,
We've got President's Day on the 19th. I'd like to do it that weekend if possible,
okay?
or we could do it next week.
so it's like the 21st or the 28th.
Yeah,
I can't do the 28th.
I have it coming first.
On the 21st. You clear 21st?
Yeah,
Clear on 21st as of now.
how's everybody starting on for, would it work better for me?
It doesn't matter to me. That's to you though, doesn't it?
Not as long as my boss tells me it's okay. I didn't ask her, I just left.
Think you got a job to go back to?
For the time being. Yeah.
You think they'll put you out the pasture?
Nah.
So 4
I
o'clock.
doubt that.
But we'll go ahead and try 4 o'clock. I know that gets a little tight for me, but,
Well, you said,
with us having some things we gotta work through, having that extra half hour probably is a benefit, so. Just,
On what day?
so the 21st at 4 o'clock.
Somebody do minutes for Judy.
You recorded it.
Oh, okay.
Won't have to get used to being in charge here.
We expect you.
We don't even do that at work.
don't do that. He's gonna be so proud of you.
Stephanie,
El Presidente, are you gonna adjourn us?
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Aye, for a second.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll make the motion. Dan
I'll second it.
seconds. All in favor, aye.
I have to get used to running by Robert's rule. I usually just do reports to these kind of